Hi everyone, welcome to Junk Journaling Barbie. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm glad to have everyone. So today, look what we're doing. We are going to do and show you the process, talk about every angle and everything that you need and some extras and all the fun things to make some faux rice paper. I just loved it. I took the last couple of weeks experimenting, playing around, trying different things to see what works for me, what didn't, so that I could include every good, bad, and ugly in the video so that you don't have to try to figure it out for yourself. You're going to know right away what works and get right down to crafting, and that's what's important. So I saved you a lot of time. So here we go. This was from a a napkin that looked like this when you opened it. So this flower was just in the one corner and then the other three corners were just white. And you will see that there's something wrong with this. And I'm going to tell you why this happened and how to avoid this when I get around to it, okay? But for now, it looks not too shabby. I enjoyed working with that one. Then this is just the white part of the napkins. So the second or third layer that's in, not the one with the print on it. Like this is the top layer of the napkin. I took the second and the third layer and just made the white part of it so that I had some almost like vellum, but it's rice paper looking, but it almost to me looks kind of like vellum. It's really opaque. I just love it. I love the feeling of it. Now one side, this side here is very rough sounding, as you can hear. And then this side is feels like wax paper, kind of freezer paper. But I love them both and I can't wait to use these. Here was also another one of the mistakes. As you can see here, the line, that was a mistake. Not really a mistake. It was a learning curve, and I will let you know what I did and how not to copy this one and to make a better copy version for yourself. I will also show you in a little bit the napkins, how they looked originally and their size and everything like that, okay? Now this is the first one that I did that worked out because I finally got the hang of what I was doing and it actually worked out. And I was going to just take the, this is Minecraft guy. I don't know what they're called, sorry. I was going to just cut this out just like I did the flower and not have the white parts. But then I realized, look at the little swords in each corner has the swords. So I'm like, oh, I think I want to keep those in there because if I'm including these in a journal, in a theme, in a fun, like I'm just would be gifting it, I want to make sure I include all the little swords in different areas too. Maybe include them on a tag. I might cut them out, stuff like that. So there's that one. You could see how opaque that is as well. How fun. The green, not so much. You could still see my hand through it, but it's just not as opaque as this. But it depends on what your style you're going for it. And of course, you still get the crinkle. That's so much fun. Then I got this napkin. Was from I ordered on Amazon. A package of 20 was $8.99, and I at first thought, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, but then I wasn't thinking about the blue. I really wish this was white, but in the long run you could still see my hand really through it more than the Minecraft one. And I think it's turned out beautifully. And I think somebody will really appreciate the blue tint to this as well. Now, whether I use it whole or in pieces. And I'll talk about all different ways to use them after as well. So that one was pretty. So these took me the full sheets. Like, I don't know if I went overboard with my glue, but it was like 24 hours to dry. So I got down to this guy. Now I just did this one last night and it's nice and dry. It's very dry in here. We have our central air on, and it's nice and cool. So this should peel really up easily. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now I'm going to kind of do it reverse, because I'm going to show you how to make this and get this on here, all the process up until after it's dried. So I want to show you this part first, so you could see when I talk about the different processes, how that's going to benefit you in the long run. So you can see here how it's a little bit jagged. I'll put it up a little bit. See how it's a little wonky here? That's for a purpose. That's so that it gives dimension, it gives a different feel, it's easier to pull up, and it also kind of makes it look vintagey looking. So here you could actually honestly see how easy that's going to come up, because it's just already lifting. So here we go. Should lift nice and easy. It's easier than a fruit roll up to come off. And look how opaque that is as well. Very pretty. These are very small. So there's the one, there's the two. How easy was that, right? So I will be showing and talking about what I used. I just have one more to show you to peel off that I've had on here. I don't even remember which one this is. Oh, okay. This is more of the flowered one that I showed you earlier. And this one is the Minecraft character. But I did something totally different with these that I will talk about in a little bit. So if you want to know how I got this green instead of the white, like the first one, see the first one had white around it. This one has green. Same with this one, is green around it instead of the white. I'm not sure I'm a fan of this one, but the Minecraft is cool. So this one should peel up nice and easy also. There we go. The flowers. I'm really not much of a fan of the green. I think I overdid the green. I'll let you know how I did that. And then there's the Minecraft character. He should peel right off too. Yeah, nice and easy. And there we have it. This is kind of cool, the green, and it's kind of has some specks, and I'll tell you and talk about what the speckles are in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to first of all let you know what you absolutely need to make these. Okay, so the very first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to make your glue mixture. Okay, so that's what we're gluing on to and underneath these napkins. So I took some white glue that I got just from Walmart. It was $3.97 for this big 16-ounce bottle, and I found it very runny. So a lot of people, when they're talking about doing this faux rice paper, they mix glue with water to thin it out, but this was thin enough. I didn't have to add any water. You can if you would like, but I chose not to. I thought this was just a good enough consistency. Okay, so I just used, if you use the cheapest of the cheap glue, I would just use the glue. As long as it's consistent when you pour it out with, let's say, sour cream. I wouldn't add any, not thick sour cream, like fat-free sour cream. How runny that is, that's how runny this is. And then, oh, I should have opened this beforehand, eh? Oh, man. Oh, there we go. There we are. I have it, of course, labeled so that I know that that's Walmart glue that's in here, cheap glue. And then I also wrote down what I used in it, because as you can see, it's not just plain white. I don't know if you could tell that, but it's not just white. What I've added in there, a lot of people, you'll see, they'll want it vintagey. They'll add coffee or tea. But there's a lot of people that don't like the smell when they do the coffee, or want to be bothered getting tea. Maybe they don't have tea around or anything like that. So all I used was my Distress Spray Stain. I had this from Ranger, and I think it's Tim, yeah, it's Rangers. I believe it's Tim Holtz. And I kept going, I don't know what I'm going to use this for. But then when I seen this, and it was used with coffee and tea, but coffee and tea eventually mold in it. So you could just only make enough for maybe the week or something that you're going to do. And then, like I said, you still have the smell. So I made this like 3 weeks ago, and it only smells like glue. And there's no mold, there's no clumps. So I took this container, which holds 1 cup of glue, and I put 4 to 5 sprays. Just squirt, 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 squirt in here. And I just mixed it. I even shook it. No problem. So you can use any color you'd like. You can also use coffee and tea if you want as well. So that's all you really need besides the napkins, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And also the thing you need underneath, like you've seen that I had used a garbage bag. So let me put this away. I will also talk about extras. Oh, you can also try Mod Podge. That may work for you as well. Mod Podge, I would add some water with it just to make it a little bit runny. Okay. Then you'll want a thicker brush, like a larger brush. You don't want a real small size brush, because if you use a small size brush, it's going to take you forever, and then you're going to end up tearing your napkin. So you want it to be a nice chunky sized brush. You want a container with water so that your brush doesn't get all clumpy and yuck and hard later. So you can leave it in the water in between the ones that you're doing. Or you can use a sponge. I cut up a sponge in 4 pieces, and you could just dip it in the glue and go to town and make them like within a couple minutes. It's really, really fast with the sponge. This makes more of a mess though, in my opinion, and you really have to be careful with the tearing of the napkin with this. A gentle touch is always the best way to go. Another option too to put in your glue would be some mica powder. You can also make some mix mica with water and give it a little squirt after you're done the whole process and the glue's on. You could squirt some mica, or you could just dust some mica on the paper into the glue and it'll be stuck on there. So that's another little idea there as well. Okay, so the things that you'll want underneath before I talk about the napkins, you'll want online, all the videos I watched, they said they used freezer paper. Now I'm in Canada, and I thought freezer paper was the same as wax paper, but it's not. Wax paper is the reason I had those sticky parts on those 2. So those 2 that you've seen that had the paper look on the back, I didn't get it all off. It's stuck. You could see where it's stuck there, and it's stuck here. So you see me peel it off nice and easy off the garbage bag. Not so with this. It's torn here. You can see the tear. There's tears because it was big time a pain in the bum to peel off, because it did not work at all. So wax paper is not the same as freezer paper. So I looked everywhere in my city, could not find this thing called freezer paper. So what I used instead, as you've seen, was the garbage bag. I also tried it on one of these inserts for my scrapbooks, the plastic that, you put the 12 by 12 paper in. I've used that successfully. I've used just a bag, like this is bread bag, and but take note, if you're using a bread bag, make sure to turn it inside out, because you do not want to have the printing from the bag transfer onto your napkin, because it will happen, because that's where the printing is, on the outside of the bag. So you'll want to flip all your bags, whether it's this kind of bag or whether it's a, oh, there we go, whether it's a smiley face grocery bag, you'll want to turn that inside out, unless you want that smiley face partially on your napkin. But I would definitely turn it inside out and glue it onto this. Another option would be, of course, the garbage bag, like I've shown you. And another option would be a Ziploc bag. Now, of course, all of these need to be the size a little bit larger than your napkin would be, because you wouldn't want to have this and then your napkin is this large. It just won't work. It just does not cover it. So you would need, like for this, the large napkins, I needed the garbage bag. That's how large they are. But for the smaller ones, the Ziploc bag works. Or if you're cutting up the napkins, the Ziploc bag works. Or you may use some cling wrap. Just open up the cling wrap, lay it down, and use that. Another option would also be just like the ones for the 12 by 12 scrapbooking paper. You can get the ones that are for just the regular size ones if you need a small one. And then the last thing that I thought of, I'm sure is not the least, is any packaging. So this is plastic that's covering these large envelopes. I could just open that and use that plastic as well. So all those different options. I'm sure you could go around your whole home and find a zillion and two ways of putting. Oh, this is fun, right? Look, I have to put all that stuff away right after too. So that is all the ones that I could come up with. I'm sure you'll have a lot more than I did of ways, but my go-to is the Ziploc bag for smaller ones and the garbage bag for larger ones. Now, when I go to make them, I get a lid off of, I have big, what do you call these? Big totes. There's a lid on them, and it doesn't matter that it's not flat. I use this so that I'm not having to have it wet sit here if I want to work some more at night. So I'll have my garbage bag here and I'll have my napkin here, and then I could just lift and put it elsewhere so my space is not dirtied and muckied up. I want to work some more on other projects. So I always will, you'll see me pull this out in a little bit. Actually, I'll just leave it here now. All right, because I just have one more thing to talk about and then we get into the fun stuff. Now, let's chat about napkins. First, before I say about napkins, you can also use tissue paper. Imagine, like, you can use ones that have beautiful prints on it, a solid color. There's some in here that have sparkles. This one I purchased from Michael's years ago, and it has a chevron, and then it has all kinds of words on it. Beautiful. So we can use those. So this one would be awesome because it's so large. I can make it, well, I guess as long as this, but as long as however your space is and your garbage bags, you can make a big one, and you could wrap gifts with it, do whatever you like with it. So tissue paper is a great option. This might not turn out as opaque as the napkins though, just so you know. All right, and napkins, you have the long, thin type. Well, they're not real thin, but they're longer napkins. You can also use small luncheon size napkins. Now here is the one napkin that I used on freezer paper, and that didn't really turn out very good. But here it is before I did the gluing. Now, most napkins are 2 or 3 plies, so you'll have to get the plies apart. I like to keep mine still in the bag so that I know here it says 3 ply. So I know when I'm pulling it apart, oh, I have 3 plies and I only got 2 off, so I have to try for the 3rd. Some people use tape. You've seen that little trick with the Scotch tape and pull it. I don't like to rip it because I like to use the white as well. So I like to use those myself. Let's see how I can. A little tip I have little, not pliers, little not clippers. Oh, what would you call these? Not clamps. These are little pinchers, some sort. So here's one ply. So did you see that? And then I find the third ply, so the top one and then the next one, really tough to get. So I kind of crinkle the bottom, crinkle it all up together, and then I look to see where I'm going to be able to grasp. Now maybe it's over. No, that seems like it's only one ply there. And you sometimes really have to fiddle to get it. Let's see. Yeah, sometimes that tape trick might just be the way to go. I also, let me show you something else. I also use one of these. I have this putty knife, and I find for it to get into there, I find this really, really works. So I'll just pinch the end and kind of, oh my gosh, this is calling me a liar today. Yeah. Oh, I seen it. There it is. There it is. There we go. I don't know. I don't think you'll see. Oh, darn. There we go. I see it now. And then I just kind of run that in there. And then I can carefully pull those plies apart. Let's see here. Sorry, I just got like almost like I'm whispering, like, oh no, it's going to hear me and it's going to glue back together. No, it won't glue back together, but oh my goodness. And I could see where I did it. You know, it's just because you press record and that's what kind of happens, right? Maybe I just didn't get it in the groove more. There we go. I should have made sure I did that. And I broke all my nails because I was cleaning in here and tidying and organizing this whole room for the last 3 weeks. And I broke all my nails off. There we go. Honestly, it's not this difficult as I'm making it look. Usually people say, oh, it's easier, or it's just as easy as it looks. Well, no, it's easier than it looks this time. Actually, I just ripped it. I should have just used the tape method. These, as you see, are they're almost like they're glued together. It's like, there we go. There we go. So that's what it would look like before. You could still see that's a little opaque looking, but compared to when it's, where did that one go? Here we go. There we are. So we can compare the two. Looks so much nicer, even though that half the paper was left on here. You could just, gives you an idea of what it looks like, okay? I got off topic there a little bit, didn't I? So you can use little luncheon napkins, patterned or just solid colors is good. Anything whatsoever. You can use, like, find some at maybe your local diner, restaurant, bring one home. This was in an auction box that I received. So yeah. This is from 2001 from Boston, I guess. Cheers. I guess I should show this way. I also have actual rice paper napkins kind of idea. And I got these at an auction as well. These look really nice, but this black you can't see through very well at all. The white turned out beautifully. I used it, actually the white, I rip apart and put it on master boards. It looks stunning. So these are they're like as light as air. You could only imagine. Now, the B one that I got is actually a little container of Kleenex. Well, sorry, tissue. Some people, other countries. In Canada, most of us call it Kleenexes. And I know that's a brand name. But when I opened this to use it as a Kleenex one time, I was like, this is a napkin. It's not a Kleenex at all. So when I opened it up, I could tell, and it's a 3-ply napkin. So I'm using them as napkins, not Kleenexes. I thought that would be total waste when they're so sweet and cute. So look for things like that as well. I don't know how you would know what the difference is, but besides buying one and trying it out. And then of course the last one is the larger ones. There's the one I showed you that didn't turn out very well because of the paper all stuck. And then I've got another flower. I've got a box full of napkins now from this auction, and we have a store around me that every aisle you go down, on the bottom of their aisles is napkins, like all different. So this one I've got, and this is the one that I got from Amazon, the blue one that you had seen, the light robin's egg blue. Just beautiful, just beautiful. So the next step will be to show you how I do it. So I'll just clear the spot. Now I may as well use, what do you say? I may as well use the one that I already peeled, so you don't have to watch me painstakingly peel anymore. Sorry for the rustling here. I just gotta clear my path. All right, so of course, the first thing you're yelling, Barb, make sure to cover your surface. Yes, thank you, because I don't need to put it to this, because this would be rough to peel it off of. Maybe not, it's plastic, but I'm not sure about it coming off real easy off of that. So I'm just going to reuse the same garbage bag. I had another one, but I'm going to reuse the same one. I'm going to flip it over because I have green on this side from the other one, and I'll tell you how I got green in a minute. We'll flip this over. So remember when I said I added the distress spray in my glue? Well, when I got the green, I actually used RIT dye. It's a dye that I use when I dye my wool and my cotton yarn. I use the RIT dyes, and so I just put like a quarter of the cap full of the RIT dye inside the jar of glue, and I shook it, and that's why it was green. I just found that was too much, so maybe if you're going to do that, maybe only do a drop or two. And then I promised to tell you how I did the sprinkles. So you'll probably see on this one, you'll see the speckles. See all the dark speckles? Well, this is dry RIT powder. It comes in a box, and it's a powder, and you usually add it to your washing machine, and you're trying to dye like a white t-shirt with the dye, and it's very, very pigmented, this dye, the powder. But I just took, when the glue was wet on the top, I sprinkled the RIT speckle dye, just a little dusting, like almost like pepper or salt, and that's what it turned out. I wanted to try that. I was hoping the color spread a little bit more, but it's fine. I only did these two. This section I did really heavy with it, but I didn't like how it turned out. This one I did a little bit lighter. I like that. And then this one I didn't put any on at all, and I really like the one I did a little bit of. Okay. So now the next thing you want to do is take note of how wide and how tall your napkin is. Okay, because you want to make sure that you're getting the glue all around bigger than what your napkin or tissue paper, whatever it is you're using. So what I like to do is I like to scooch this down a little bit. Okay, now I got to get my glue opened. Now again, you could use a sponge instead of your brush, but I want to show you the process with a brush. So what I do is scooch this down. I just slather my brush, okay, like big time on there, and then I draw a line. How wide? Okay, I want it way over, at least an inch or two over, far from the napkin. And then I want to go down. I don't want to touch that. I want to go down to make sure it's the same size. So I'll go down. I'm not placing it on top of the glue. Okay, I want to just kind of eyeball it. I need to go down a little bit further. So there we go. So I'll put the napkin aside. Now I know how large it needs to be. I keep wanting to put my brush in my mouth, but then I'll be all mumbles. It will sound like I have marbles in my mouth. So this is the fun part. This is the fun part. Just making sure you get glue. Now, as you can see, I'm just dipping it in and gluing, right? You can also just do this and wipe the side here. What? Oh, I'm making a mess. That's okay. Now this board I have it on, you will see it has a little bit of a crease. I just touched the glue with my my other hand. But you just want to make sure you cover the entire thing, right? All right. We're getting there. Now what I do is just make sure to barely get all over, and then at the last second we're going to just make sure it's everywhere, because you don't want it thick, okay? You don't want it really, really thick, but you don't want it thin either, because you want to be able to play with that napkin. And you want to be able to put it in somewhere and have the stability, right? So I hope I'm not covering the camera. Sorry, I'm just new to this, but here we go. All right, so now is the time I'm going to try to do it, make sure it's everywhere. And there we go. Put that aside. Now I take my napkin, doesn't matter which side is, I put the right side up, okay? So then I place it down and I kind of just slowly feed it down. Don't worry if it's wrinkly, the brush will get that. You see that? You can lift that if you like, you can lay it down. You don't want it to be perfect anyway. You've seen my other ones, they're not perfect. All right, then we come back in with the glue. Now you want to start in the middle, okay, and only working each spot minimal times. You do not want to keep going. It will rip. So you want to just keep working your way out to the outside. All right, just keep going light strokes. I'm not going real heavy. I mean, I'm going heavy enough with the glue, but I'm not going heavy-handed so that I'm ripping the napkin, is I guess what I'm saying. Now, if you want, you could pull the edges a little bit. You could also fix holes. I mean, glue patches the hole anyway. I could do the same thing I did earlier, which is just dumping the jar on top, but I really wanted to show you how I do the top. All right. Now, you could, at this process, like I said about the powder, you can sprinkle that powder on there, mica powder. You could sprinkle some instant coffee probably on there, whatever your heart desires. Even some tea, dry tea, that would look cool. That would almost make it look like faux paper almost, instead of just rice paper, right? So I'm just one more square to go. And see that lump right here? Well, I could pull, kind of try to pull. There we go. And it's flat. It's very forgiving. Very forgiving. Now, I don't want it to be perfect anyway. I want mine to have wrinkles and look older and look like it's been around the block, if you will. All right, one more section. This is probably a lot more glue than I would have. I think it's because I'm just yakking and not paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, now I want to show you a little trick that I learned on Treasure Books. Natasha, what she had done, she had did it because she said it makes it easier to pull off of the freezer paper, but I do it because I like the look of it. As you've seen, and all of mine were like this. I go around with my brush and just push the edges in. Simple as that. Just boop, 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 boop. Make sure it's your wet brush. Okay, you could do it as thick as you want. You could do maybe the corners in a little bit more than you, and you could always just pull it back out if you think you did too much. And you could, or you could leave it square if you want also, because if it's square, I showed you how easy it is to come up. It doesn't matter. If it's square, it'll come up. But the reason she was doing this was because she said it was hard to pull off that freezer paper. But because it's so easy off of the any of these plastics. Oh, I'm so glad I figured that out. There we go. So there we have it. Like I said, I could sprinkle some mica powder on there to give it some sparkle if I wanted, or the spray, the mica with the water, I could spray that on. That would be pretty. But pretty much all I do is I leave it sit like this. It usually takes a day. I put it aside and that's it. Now, if I wanted it to look just like plain rice paper, I would use the white part of the napkin. I would actually use the very bottom one so that it has less patterning on it. And besides that one I ripped also, but I would do this one. Now, if you want to do pockets and such, like you can cut it and then put them down, or do it all at once and then cut it afterwards as well. That's fine too. The only part I did not show you was sometimes after you pull the glue up, there might be some glue little pieces that hang off. I don't know if you'll see that. See how there's a little bit of glue there? You just take the scissors, or you can just literally pull it. It's just like little plastic parts, and you can pull it right off. It comes right off. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Faux rice paper, easy peasy. Literally, if you have the glue mixed up, ready to go ahead of time, you could do one every single night, put it aside, and then you'll have it ready for the next day. Once it's dried, actually, even before it's dried, you could also use archival stamps. Like if I wanted to stamp that napkin beforehand, I would make sure that the ink is totally dry on the napkin by using a cool hair dryer, or let it dry for, you know, an hour or something before I put the glue on. You can also try doing that as well. Another little tip. So yes, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to make your own faux rice paper. And please, anything that you think I could improve on, more ideas, please let me know down below. I have quite an extensive list of things I want to share with you guys. So you could find me everywhere as Junk Journaling Barbie. So that is on Instagram. There's a Facebook group called Junk Journaling Barbie. You could contact me at junkjournalingbarbie@gmail.com. And of course, under my videos, you can chat with me down there as well. So thank you everybody for taking this time out of your busy lives and hanging out with me for a little bit. I can't wait to talk with you next time. Take care and happy crafting. Bye.